The SoundCloud era brought with it some of the best artists of the last decade. You've got Juice WRLD, XXXTentacion, Ski Mask, Lil Skies for like 2 to 3 years, Lil Uzi Vert, the bisexual Somalian pirate known as Playboy Cardi. The list goes on and on. One artist, though, had extreme hype coming off of the platform, a loyal fan base and community that was grown authentically through the site with singles like One Night and Broccoli and his debut mixtape Lil Boat. He was off to as hot of a start as a rising artist could have, and it seemed like with every release being a hit at this point in time, it would only be a matter of time before he was at the top. But everything started looking rough for the artist when, after he was signed to Quality Control, his debut album Teenage Emotions bombed. And for good reason too, this album sucks. By now you know who we're talking about because his name is in the title and his face is in the thumbnail, but that artist is Lil Yachty, and after his debut flopped as hard as it probably could have, he faced an uphill battle to gain back the respect of those who knew him from before and make fans out of those who only knew him from that album. And it all started on March 9th, 2018, Lil Yachty released his second official album, Lil Boat 2. It was meant to be a record that would allow him to bounce back and make people forget the dumpster fire that was Teenage Emotions, but it didn't quite do its job. The album commercially performed well, selling 64,000 units in the first week and debuting at number 2 on the Billboard 200 charts. There were some really good songs on the album, and it carried features from Quavo, Offset, 2 Chainz, and a few other notable artists. However, Lil Boat 2, while performing well commercially, didn't satisfy everyone, and the album garnered split opinions from a lot of fans. Boat's fans didn't have to wait much longer for another project though, as only 7 months later we saw the release of Nothing to Prove. This album didn't produce quite as well on the charts, debuting at number 12 with 40,000 first week sales, and it also seemingly split his fan base even more, with this album basically being a coin flip on whether they liked it or not. A lot of fans spoke very highly of the second half of the album, saying things like, "Second half was what we've been asking for this whole time, with a bit more trap infusion." At this point, it seems like Yachty is figuring things out. Songs on this album like Worth It and Yacht Club stood out, and there seemed to be a path for him to gain back the trust of his fans. It wouldn't be until 2020 before we received another project from Boat, when he teamed up with Lil Keed, Lil Got It, with Zaytoven producing for a collab tape titled A-Team. A month later, he released the lead single for Lil Boat 3 with features from Drake and DaBaby. This album ended up debuting at number 14, selling 30,000 in the first week, and was followed by a deluxe, and overall the performance of this album completely embodies this time in Yachty's career. His activity in this stretch of time makes it clear that he could feel his career slipping away from him. I say this because he then released a mixtape in April 2021 called Michigan Boat Boy. This mixtape only sold 16,000 the first week, but it was clear the fans appreciated it. This tape was themed around and embodied the sound of a new wave of rappers coming out of Detroit. It wasn't the first time Yachty had changed his sound too, because after all, changing his sound is what led to the decline in his popularity over time. He got big due to the uniqueness of his music, but we've come to learn that experimenting is what suits Yachty the best, because this certainly isn't the last time he'll change his sound either. On October 11th of 2022 is when we were all taken on a one-way trip to Poland. It's hilarious too, because this song that he made completely as a joke ended up sparking his return to the forefront of an entire genre. Well, multiple genres. 2 months after the release of Poland, Lil Boat's 5th album was leaked online. Normally, it would cause the artist to scrap the project, as when it comes to leaks, a lot of the time we'll never hear them officially. But the album held a completely different sound. Instead of trap, rap, and quote-unquote thinky sounding tunes, it was a psychedelic rock rap fusion album. And it was amazing. On January 27th of 2023, Let's Start Here was officially released, and Lil Boat had finally patched the hole letting water in that had been sinking his ship the whole time. This album released to 37,000 first week sales, and it was a hit within his community. I had never been a true fan of him up until this point, outside of a couple of songs that I liked, but I found myself with this album on repeat for a solid month after its release. It seems like this album ignited a fire beneath him, as since its release we've seen him come out with 5 singles and an EP entitled The Secret Recipe, in which he returns to form with rap, but this time it actually sounds good. I've thoroughly enjoyed his releases since, and his latest release, A Cold Sunday, is an absolute gem. Things aren't all sunshine and rainbows for Boat Boy though. A lot of fans are upset with him because when it came time for the rollout of Let's Start Here, he was in a podcast interview basically calling out the rap industry for being uncreative, but then reverted right back to what he's been doing for years after stepping out of his creative box.
It's facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, the facts is that people aren't supporting hip-hop like they once did. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a decline in the content.
I don't think it really matters, though. Fantano had a talking point about this album that's one of his extremely rare takes that don't disgust me.
Lil Yachty really did it on this one, genuinely.
He's seen a lot of success and a lot of failures, from blowing up and being in the legendary Sprite commercial alongside LeBron, modeling for Kanye, reportedly producing and starring in an Uno movie, and signing to FaZe Clan. And then there's him getting sued for taking part in the SafeMoon crypto scam, getting sued by the SEC, dividing his entire fan base multiple times, and starring in How High 2. I truly think the sky's the limit for Yachty, but it's in his court on if he'll continue his upswing back to prominence, or if he won't continue stepping out of his box and experimenting with music that's unique. Because at the end of the day, he blew up for being unique.
When it's cold with a flavor so bold, you can feel it in your toes. Cold like a spice